What an attentive audience. What an attractive audience. Someone told me that it's the most attractive audience in the DC region. So congratulations, everyone. Good to see you here. Welcome. Let me open up my notes here because I know I have some housekeeping things to say to you all. But how exciting. How many of you have seen this production of The Phantom of the Opera? It's pretty amazing. How many of you have seen a production of The Phantom of the Opera? Oh, amazing, amazing, amazing. All right, Zipper. Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Yes, good. Great. So welcome to the Kennedy Center and the Phantom of the Opera Look-In. The Look-In is part of the Education Division's Explore the Arts series and made possible through the support of the Thomas W. Hass Foundation. And hello to everyone joining us on Facebook. If you guys aren't members of the Kennedy Center's Facebook page, there's wonderful information there. So please, when you go home or right now on your phones, like the page and you'll get great information. But hi everyone on Facebook. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Michael Bobbitt. I'm the Artistic Director of Adventure Theater MTC. That is the DC region's longest running children's theater and training academy. I also have a freelance career in DC as a director and choreographer and sometimes playwright. And so I'm happy to be here. The other thing I will say is I have a long history with the Kennedy Center. When I was in my teen, way back in the last millennium, I know I went to school in the late 1900s. It's so, it's so scary. I was a fellow with the National Symphony Orchestra Youth Fellowship Program, and then in my adult professional career, I performed at the Kennedy Center. In fact, my last performance was at the Kennedy Center, and I also choreographed a couple of shows there as well. So I'm happy to be back and be part of this program. I would like to introduce you guys to our cast. Well, actually, let them introduce themselves.
Oh, sure. Hi, I'm Chris Mann. I play the Phantom.
Yay.
Starting tonight, as opposed to last week. In case
You should wear your mask everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Fontaine. I play Carlotta Giudicelli.
Accent and everything. I'm Storm Lineberger, and I play Raoul Vicomte de Chagny.
So many extra consonants in French. But it sounds so good. It sounds so great. These guys are magnificent. If you haven't seen the show, please see it. It's really magnificent. And we are here celebrating a brand new production of The Phantom of the Opera. A little bit about The Phantom, if you don't know. The Phantom opened in London on October 9th, 1986. I know this. And it did really well, won a bunch of Olivier Awards, then came on Broadway in 1988 and won 10 Tony Awards. It is the longest running Broadway show, either play or musical, celebrating over 12,000 performances, and there's a large gap between the next in line. And it has grossed over $6 billion in receipts around the world. So this is a mega, mega show. And of course, there are a couple of movie versions and some other musical versions and some play versions and the movie with Gerard Depardieu and Emma Rawson. Emmy Rawson, right? Yes. Thank you, Rawson.
Yeah, exactly.
Great, good. So exciting that we have a new revamped production, and you can see this production and then go to New York and see the original production, which is very exciting. There are a couple of questions that I would like to ask you guys. Did you guys see the original production? What's your experience with that?
Yeah. I have seen it maybe 3 times. Most recently, I saw it when I was in rehearsals for this production. And it was fascinating to see it after having seen ours. If you've seen ours or when you come and see ours, if you haven't seen the original, it won't matter. But there are some pretty distinct differences. Mainly our set is completely redesigned and incredible, a character unto itself. Not to mention, there's a number of directorial notes, which we can talk about while we're up here, that distinguish, for example, I'm about 20 years younger than Michael Crawford when he was playing this part, so that's a huge deal, is to keep me and Raoul and Christine in the same age bracket, so it's not totally dirty. And it's supposed to make it more realistic that she's actually torn between these two men, as opposed to dealing with the father figure, which is the story of the original. But I absolutely loved the original. I grew up listening to the double disc CD with Michael Crawford and Sarah Brightman. And so yeah, I saw it and wept. What about you?
Sorry, that was not my hey, stop talking. I grew up listening to the CD. I like burned a hole in my computer with the double CD, and then I got the piano music, and I would sit and play the piano music. When I was, I think, a junior in high school, we went and saw the tour production in Los Angeles, and then when I was a starving college student, I got rush tickets for the London West End production and cried my eyes out. And then recently, as a, after I'd gone through a bunch of music school, I went back and I saw the Broadway production, and I thought, okay, am I still going to be impressed with the music after all of this learning? And I was. I actually appreciated it even more, the beautiful orchestrations and the depth. So I've actually been able to see all the incarnations of it.
It was actually the first production I ever saw. I was about 12 years old, and the touring production came through my hometown, and I got to see it at the Majestic Theater, which is kind of funny because the one on Broadway is also called the Majestic. But it was a really transforming experience. I definitely think that was the impetus to get me into performing. And I told my grandmother, someday I'm going to be up there. And just this past fall, we got to perform at that same theater, Phantom of the Opera, which was a really cool experience. But I've seen the Broadway show as well several times. We have a couple cast members that have gone to that show, and I wanted to support them. And it was a really interesting experience, like Chris Mann said, knowing our show and then seeing that one, being that they're produced by the same producer. There's some things that transfer over, but lighting and set design, you're going to see are the biggest differences. I'm obviously partial to our show because it's our show, but the original has some really terrific moments.
Yeah, I remember the original production, The Chandelier, and when I first saw it, it was like, it's so fast! Oh my gosh, watch out! It's coming! It's coming!
It's still coming.
Watch out!
Ah!
And so, right, and this one, I mean, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but those of you that saw it, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah, you really. So
This one, ours drops.
Yeah, it was
like
amazing.
It's hot.
It was amazing. And there is like something in it that splatters.
Yeah, pyrotechnics.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it shoots glass.
Yeah,
It
it's
shoots
pretty
glass
good.
on the side, or
have to see it. You have to
glass.
It's glycerin. It's glycerin, but it's glass. It's
Yes.
dangerous. It's,
So-
it's safe.
My experience with the Phantom, I'm going to brag a little bit, but I got to play the Phantom in the Broadway Express on the Spirit of Washington in a lunchtime harbor cruise in Washington, D.C. Yes. My favorite moment was descending the staircase starboard side to get to Christine. Sometimes people were still eating their cheesecake, but it was still fun. Anyway, that's my Phantom experience. It was awesome. It was like the best role ever. I mean, so yeah, I love the story. It's just so highly romantic. It's so highly romantic. I think that the Phantom is the ultimate gamer. He's got so much game. I mean, he falls in love with this girl because he hears her voice and he just thinks she's incredible. He wants to help her, but he's falling in love with her. And then he like dates her by giving her voice lessons, which I think is like very unique and very sort of cool. And guys, it's going to be a lot to match up to the Phantom's game. And then he takes her on a date.
Not too hard.
Right, not too You got the money though, right? He takes her down a staircase where he's got a boat. A boat. I mean, for real. I mean, I won't tell you what car I have, but it's not a boat. He takes her across a lake to a room that has candlelit. And he's singing to her the whole time, and then he wants to advance her career, and he murders some people along the way. And I mean, it's just like the most romantic
He's really
person.
sweet. He's sweet. He's nice.
He's a very sweet guy, yeah. It's pretty great. So,
She's an idiot for not going with him.
I
I don't
know. I'm
understand.
just a perfect
he's got
man.
this
He's
sweet
leaving out
man.
on that date. It was by force, essentially. Dragging her down into the lair,
highly
kidnapping
romantic.
her.
Right, there you go.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's actually a really good point that you bring up, because in the brilliant original that we call it, it is highly, highly romantic. It's highly magical. You see the beautiful, it's very, very heightened, to overuse the word. In this production, the audiences are different. We want to see the three dimensions. We want to actually see the anti-hero. So the Phantom isn't this magician that pulls Christine in. He's a hurt man. And so I think at the end, when spoiler alert, when she shows him forgiveness, you feel that forgiveness, that story of redemption, even deeper. It resonates even more so, I think, than the romance.
Yeah, you mentioned the music. I think this is, in the 80s, we had this influx of what I call pop symphonic musicals, where there was a pop theater score mixed with big, robust, classic sound. And I think it changed how we view Broadway music and Broadway musicals. And I think Phantom was maybe the second one that came over from London that sort of infused the world with the sound. But how is it singing that score every night?
One of our Christines, Katie Travis, puts it really, really well. She says it's like singing a greatest hits album. Every single song you remember. You leave humming different tunes from the show, and you're really surprised by that. And I think getting to experience the other actors singing it and being on stage as a passive observer or whatever, it's a really special experience because you've known these songs and they've been in the subconscious of humanity for 25 years now, almost 30. And to be on stage, being a part of that is probably one of the greatest things in my life, and I know I will be for the rest of my life.
That's true. Good one. Yeah. It is true, and that 80s track, that hot track that you're talking about, the Phantom theme song, is in full force in this production. They did not take that out, so I get to rock down into the lair to my 80s jam, which is really fun and funny. And I that's like when I'm getting ready to do my big first scene. And so, but I always get a kick in the boat, being like, I am rowing a boat to this iconic 80s dance theater track right now. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing that electric guitar during the title song. I'm like in my dressing room going, yeah, cool. Rock it out.
We might have some backstage choreography to that.
Oh, really?
Do you guys know Chris from The Voice? How many of you guys are fans of The Voice?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You know what? I commend you for they're fans of theater. It sounds like, as opposed to the reality shows.
We also like TV. Yeah. So I didn't know that you could sing like that, and so I am pretty unbelievably impressed. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? And the high notes, they keep coming.
Well, wait until tonight. I have to burst your bubble.
Okay.
So I had an emergency appendectomy 1 week ago today. And so tonight is my first show at the Kennedy Center.
Oh.
You saw my understudy.
He's a great singer, too.
Yeah.
He's great.
I don't know.
I
was
coming
like,
back.
How long is this going to take before he realizes this is what happened? So that's been my, I came to DC. I've been excited to make my Kennedy Center debut. And then I went straight to the hospital and had surgery. And so this is my first show tonight, back.
I will come back and see it.
Yeah.
But still, tell us how it is going from sort of pop music world to this more highly classical sound.
Well, I mean, I was a opera major in college, so this is my background and training. I always dreamed and aspired to be a recording artist, and lucky enough for me, I have had a career in that lane for like 10 years. So I finished touring after I was signed to Rehearsal after I did The Voice, and I made a number of records there and a couple of PBS TV specials, and I toured for 2 years supporting that career and that record, and finished that and decided I would really love to get back on stage acting, which is what I grew up doing, music theater. So fast forward, I literally said out loud to my agent I'd love to do Phantom of the Opera, and they were like, oh, Phantom, you don't want to do Phantom? I was like, yeah, I do. And here I am. So it was a very fortuitous thing. So I keep saying out loud, I'm going to win the lottery. But it hasn't happened yet.
Are you done with the pop world?
No, well, I recorded an album while I've been out here on the road called Constellation. It came out in May, and was very excited about that. And will do support dates for that after I leave the show. And actually, I did end up recording Music of the Night from Phantom, since it's obviously a very important part of my life now as an artist and will be moving forward. So, and actually have a new music video for that Yahoo premiered yesterday. So that my pop career is very much going, but I'm pretty thrilled to be, this taking the main energy.
So everyone will check out the Yahoo video, and everyone on Facebook will check out the Yahoo video. Speaking of which, on Facebook, post questions. We may have a chance to answer some questions from Facebook later. Please keep it to questions and not comments and compliments. We know how fabulous these people are. So Carlotta.
Yes.
I love her. I think I'm going to be her for Halloween. It's the best costume. Can I borrow?
I know, right? I wish when I leave the tour, I'm probably going to steal a costume or two.
Do it. Patti LuPone used to do that. Remember on one of her concept albums, she talked about stealing costumes? I don't know if that's true, but...
They're about like $30,000, $40,000 a piece, so I think they will come at me with stakes,
I think the original production boasted 200 costumes in the production. How many do you think you have for this?
I know that I have 6. I have 6 costumes, and they take many man-hours to make, and my heaviest costumes are about 40 pounds a piece. The gold piece that I enter in, the red Captain Hook dress that I wear, and the black and white gorgeous number, they're truly spectacular. And then when you go and look at them close up, you can see that some of the pieces are antique. They do have antique piping. It's one of my favorite parts of being this character is her costumes. Oh my gosh, the music, the costumes, she's so fun.
Tell us a little bit more about being the character and how is it, so in many ways, playing one of the villains in the show.
I know, right?
Yeah.
What's it like playing the villain? With our take with this production is that she's not so much a villain. Yes, she does throw temper tantrums, but she's more so a woman that's worked really hard to get where she is. She's at the height of her career at the Paris Opera House, and everyone's dropping the ball. People are getting hurt. People, a sandbag almost falls on me and no one does anything. So she throws a tantrum. And it's great because I was able to pull from all aspects of my life. I studied theater growing up, and then I went into the opera world, and I spent some time in Italy. So I learned Italian, and so I'm able to curse in Italian. And sometimes I would ad-lib the curse words, and they'd say, just in case we have some Italian speakers in the audience, just ixnay. So, but it's fun.
How much of Carlotta it comes from your real life experiences? And asking you guys, is there any Carlotta in her in rehearsals?
Yeah, she's terrible.
Shut up.
Meaning that she's the most talented person in the room.
There you go.
Oh yeah. This one knows. Yeah, I'll terrorize it later. No, from my real life, it's fun because sometimes you can channel what you're feeling. And the great thing about this production is we're really given so much, within a confines, leeway with the character that with my exit speech, I can kind of cater it to how I'm feeling. If actually something hasn't been happening that I would like to be happening, I can actually draw from personal experience and be like, what is going on? You promised this. But no, I don't think she's too much like me, or I would choose not to be like her. And I try to remove that character from my personality at the end of the night.
Yeah, she's the best definition of the word diva, all the wonderful things about it. And I always think a diva is someone who can be a diva off stage and a diva on stage. Right? You want them to bring it on both off stage and on stage.
Yes, yeah. And I found that in the opera world sometimes, that when I would be meeting with patrons, they would expect this persona to meet them. And they would expect someone to be throwing out, random quips and everything like that. I'm kind of a nerd. I don't know.
Storm, which I think is an awesome name, and I may borrow that too. Touring life and taking care of your voice. Can you talk a little bit, with such a demanding show, can you talk a little bit about, for our younger patrons out here, a little bit about the rigors of touring and maybe how you take care of your voice?
Yeah, it's actually been a learning experience. Right?
It's going! See the show fast!
It's been a learning experience for me. This is sort of my first big production, definitely longest by far that I've ever done. Previous to this, I think it was 3 weeks. It's the longest production I've done. But you have to, everyone's got their own thing, how their voice operates. They know their own voice. It's all about feeling. Luckily, we have some terrific voice teachers that are terrific performers in the show that are also voice teachers, much like Jackie. She actually teaches both Chris and I, but a little bit. But
I just tell them, you suck when they come off the stage. I'm just like, that wasn't good, you gotta fix that.
yeah, it's great. But yeah, you discover that you can't do certain things after the show. You can't eat certain things, whether it be acid reflux or whatever. But you find this rhythm that you get into before the show that sort of equals the result on stage. I know that I have to go to the gym, and then I have to warm up for 15 minutes, then I have to do my makeup at this time, and then so on and so forth. And then when I walk on stage, I know I'm going to have the product that you all expect to see, because I want to be as consistent as possible, and I want to be on stage for you guys as much as possible, because I know you're expecting the best show out of me and out of all of us, and we want to bring that. And so what that means is this devotion in your everyday life, in your social life, or lack thereof. But that's okay, you know, it's a really amazing experience, and I've learned a lot about myself and what I'm capable of. I'm definitely can't, you know, I got to go right to bed. I'm a grandpa at such a young age. But yeah, I think it's a devotion that you don't necessarily understand when you're going into it, that that you really appreciate afterwards when you see these actors on TV, whether they're like Method or whatever it may be. It's really just to get the result on stage or in the performance that you expect as an audience member, because you've paid your money, you deserve that.
A normal work week for us, let's say we first arrive to a city, our travel day is Monday. We get Tuesday off, which we do nothing. We go grocery shopping, or we rest, or we explore a little bit. Wednesday we come in around 4:30, 5 o'clock for a sound check. We open at 7 or 8 o'clock. The next day, Thursday, we have 2 shows to make up for the one we lost on Tuesday. Friday we usually get off. We have an 8 o'clock show. Friday day we get off. Then we have an 8 o'clock show. Saturday 2 shows. Sunday 2 shows. And then we have Monday off where we do nothing. Start the week on Tuesday with a show. So it's a pretty grueling schedule.
And most of the time you're traveling, you're staying in a city for what, 4 weeks or so?
The minimum is 2 weeks.
2 weeks, oh
and
wow.
here we get to spend 6 weeks in the city, which is great.
The hottest time of year to be in DC,
Yeah,
right?
it's great.
Right. You
We
guys
don't
know.
mind it. We've gone through polar vortexes, and for a while there we were just chasing winter, it seemed like.
It's definitely very important to take care of yourself, take care of ourselves out here. As a touring solo artist, I was doing, like 80 dates a year. And I was doing, but they're traveling every day and going to a different city. And at the time I was like, that's a lot. But we're doing 8 shows a week, and though we are sitting down, we're traveling every 2 weeks, and over the course of a year, you're doing 600, 700, 800 shows, 400,000 shows, 450.
We just hit
It's about
1,000
450,
shows.
yeah.
We just hit 1,000 shows, and we've been on the road for about 2.5 years.
And she's been here the whole time. We came in
So-
on year 2. This is our second year. So yeah, that's a big deal. That's a lot of shows. So. Like Storm was saying, I've never heard the word devotion used, but that's the right word, because it does become part of your routine and your physical well-being. And I personally vocalize on a daily basis. When I was in college, I didn't practice nearly as much as I do now as a professional, just because I was drinking too much. But I definitely now, if I throw my routine off, I can tell in the show, which is really annoying. But you also figure out as an individual actor and performer and singer, like what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and then when you can push it, when you can't, because sometimes your friends come in town and you want to see them, and you do have to live, and you just figure out how to do that. But we all take it very seriously to be our best on stage, and so we do what we have to do.
Well, it's your job, right? It's your job. You have to do a great job. And how about maintaining personal lives space from each other, because
What's
living. But I can imagine living, sleeping, eating, working, playing with the same people all day, every day can be grueling, and so.
It can be grueling, but it's a family. And so when it becomes grueling, you just say, oh, it's growing pains, or oh, it's just a family, and you love them no matter what. And we are really blessed that, thank you, the people that cast this, the producers, they've really cast absolutely lovely people to travel with. This whole company is just a really lovely group of people. And yeah, with any family, you get like, oh, little tiffs or whatever, but it's at the base of everything. It's just, it's really nice.
We do have a lot of freedom. If you guys are curious, like what it's like to be on the road with a production like this, we receive a stipend to live on in terms of housing. So I can choose to live in a hotel, or I can live in an Airbnb. And most people live in Airbnbs or hotels and get the points or whatever. And so we have tons of freedom, flexibility, live close, live far. And the fun thing is on a Sunday night when we're closing, everyone's literally like, see ya, and we're like, see ya Tuesday, and everyone goes and they have, some people go back to New York, some people go visit family, it's quite independent, and then we come at hour before our show, and honestly, throughout the night, we're during the show, saying hi to each other, crossing, hey, how was that, and, having our little microcosm of our catch-up, on stage, which is pretty fun and weird.
And sometimes actually the touring can actually be more conducive to seeing more family and more friends than you would have. You can see your relatives, that they can come watch you perform when they weren't able to before. And like tonight, I just got Facebook messages that a high school friend from way back is going to be at the show, and one of my Miss America sisters is going to be at the show tonight too. So like, oh my gosh, I would have never seen them.
She was Miss California, P.S. In case you needed to add one more feather to the hat.
Top 10 Miss America 2007, is that right?
2012.
2012, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, 2007.
Yeah. With a very close friend of ours.
I'm sorry.
We have a very mutual friend who also
Yes.
did the competition as well.
Kate Michael, this gorgeous gazelle of a model.
Yes, she really is. She really is. Interested in sort of your most vivid or visceral touring experience, like a person or that you met, or like an incident that happened on. I'm curious if you guys were scared to walk down the moving staircase and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And that's a big one. Someone has to say it.
Okay.
funniest story, whatever you want to tell us.
Well,
But now you have to tell us the secret story you've been chatting about.
okay. Well, recently we had sort of a mishap. But
What's that? I'm talking about Andrew.
oh, that never mind.
We get two stories, everyone. Two stories.
Well, it's a funny mishap for myself. But anyway, I'll tell that one later. But with Andrew, yeah, it was actually a really, really cool experience. He got to come see our show on Friday.
Lloyd Webber.
Sir Andrew.
I'll tell the story.
Lord Andrew.
Yeah,
Lord
you should
Andrew.
tell the story.
We call him Andrew.
All right, so you guys, we had a cast meeting, and by we, I mean I was not in the stupid show because I had surgery, but they got a cast meeting at hour before show for our company to announce to us that a guest was coming to the show named the guy that wrote the show in the first place, Andrew Lloyd Webber. And I came, I was high on drugs, prescribed, painkillers, because I wanted to meet this man. And they freaking performed for Andrew Lloyd Webber in the Kennedy Center last week. It's amazing. And then he hung out with everybody on stage after, and it was made the entire experience worth it. I mean, I wish I was in the show, but I was glad to have witnessed it and like been proud of everybody and met this man. And that was a very unusual experience for us. That's the story I was trying to get you to tell, because you were actually in the show. What's this mishap?
Well, basically, I left my fly undone. And
Romantic, see?
I ran on stage, and I somehow caught a set piece and ripped my pants.
It's a comedy.
And so I did the final layer with a big hole in my butt cheek. And slightly ripped. And needless to say, our head of wardrobe was very upset with me. I'm not the only one that's done that. I'm going to say that just for my own dignity.
I'll tell someone else's story. My one of our very amazing understudies for Phantom rips the butt out of his pants like every other day. So they have a thing for men who rip their pants open.
Spandex will help.
It doesn't.
It's like a mystery. We're like, how did you do that again? It's amazing.
Interesting other people you've met, or other sort of behind the scenes or at the stage door stories?
I think to the date, a year before Lord Weber came.
Lord.
Andrew Lord.
Andrew, we're on first name basis. That's why we call him.
Sorry. Fred Willard came from like Best in Show, Waiting for Guffman, that actor, which we totally geeked out about. And we also had Kim Kardashian in the audience.
We had the entire Kardashian family in like the fourth row in LA, and we were all.
Yeah.
They were on their phones the whole time.
They were on the.
Yeah.
Hello.
One of my favorite guests in LA was a little girl that had cancer, and they let her out of treatment so she could come see the show, and her parents contacted us, and so she came to the show backstage, and she'd always want to be on the stage, so we brought her up, and she stood up, and we're like, do you want to sing on the stage? And she's like, I'm too scared. I'm like, come on, we'll do it with you. Let's sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And so she started to sing, and then the whole cast joined in, and we all sang with her. And it's like, do you know what? I don't care who else is in the audience. This little girl, this is the whole reason why we do this show.
That was awesome.
Yeah, she was
awesome. In Toronto, when we were there, Cole Wilkinson came and watched our show, and he's one of the iconic Phantoms, and that was very special and also nerve-wracking to perform for him. But also then afterwards, he told us so many funny stories about being the Phantom and in a whole different phase of the show. And then one amazing experience that Storm and I had together. Storm and I and our Christine, Katie Travis, started together, and when you are a new cast member in a show and you're about to start, they do what's called a put-in rehearsal, where they put you into the show, and they basically run the show like it's a real deal show for you. And so for our put-in, we had to do one live rehearsal for Cameron McIntosh, who's the original producer of the show, him and Andrew. And so we were nervous, to say the least.
First dress rehearsal.
This is our first rehearsal. We had barely started, and we're doing it for Cameron McIntosh. So we're getting ready to go, and I live in LA, and I'm used to everyone being late, and especially like if you're a celebrity, I'm like, they're never going to be there. So I'm like, let's go get coffee before this rehearsal. So we're like, all right, let's get Starbucks, and it took forever. I don't know why. And so then we realized that we're actually like 2 minutes out from when this is supposed to start. And we're outside in a garage in Fort Lauderdale, and so we're running into the theater, like busting through people, move. And then we get up to the rehearsal space, and who's sitting at the table? Cameron McIntosh waiting for us to start. So we run in and start.
Oh, wow.
You start. I didn't have to. Luckily, they started a different scene. I was like, thank God. You go first. But that was definitely, I'll never forget that. And then he came to our put-in, and he gave us his little blessing, and we were off, and that was show 1, and now we're on show 600 or something. Yeah.
I have one more story.
Yes, please.
So I enter, like I said, wearing this gorgeous, huge gold gown, alone on stage. I have this choreography where I'm carrying a severed head by the hair, and it's really terrifying, like up close. I couldn't even look at it the first few days of rehearsal. But I have this choreography that's very dramatic. I walk in, and then I turn around and then run down center, solo spotlight, just me, and I sing holding the head across the stage. I'm looking for the severed head, right? The overture starts, and I'm like, where's my severed head? And we were in Philadelphia, where my dressing room, this is not a good idea, was right next to the stage, so I could chill out in my dressing room during the overture. And so I entered too late. I'm like, where's my severed head? Where's the head? Where's the head? And I'm looking for the head. I'm listening to the music cue. I'm like, oh, I've got more time. I can still look for the head. And then I hear the music stop, and I see an empty stage with a spotlight.
What?
Yeah. And so I grab and I go running on stage and I just start from the middle and I gesture big. And I go this, usually the phrase that I do in one, breath, I just had to sing, take another breath and just keep gesturing crazy. And needless to say, I'm always there early and always looking for the head.
I think it's the wonderful thing about live theater is that these things will happen. And so there's a bit of I think an anxiety from audience members sort of wanting and wishing and hoping something goes wrong. But we're happy when nothing does. But
Things
that's
go wrong all the
just-
time, but luckily you would, most of the time would never know.
Yeah.
We're pretty good about covering and, but that is the beauty of live theater. That's what it is, right? You never know. And we have an extremely high-tech show. The whole set is Bluetooth operated, and occasionally something might not go the way it's supposed to, and we have to improvise, heaven forbid, stop sometimes and make it right. But so you just have to be ready.
There's a great quote from Parks and Rec, if anybody watched that. Andy Dwyer messed up the thing. He's like, there's a famous phrase in show business saying, the show must go wrong. And he's like, something bad will always happen. You just have to deal with it and go forward. I'm like, oh my God.
It's true.
New phrase for
I
me.
kind of
It's
like
true.
it.
I like that
and
too.
why
Exactly.
I like it, are any of you guys actors? You guys are? All right, so
Yeah.
well, there's a lot of actors. So especially if you're doing a long run like we are, it can, and you're hitting your mark. So it'd be easy to get in your head about it or whatever. But if something goes wrong, you have an adrenaline rush and you're present and you have to, and then for me, my show's better. Like I kind of prefer it. And if it's early on, even better, because then the whole rest of the night I'm more awake and alert. And it's that little, and the thing that it doesn't take much for our group to be like, they see everything. And because we've done our show so many times. So for example, so one interesting thing about our production is the Phantom is placed throughout the show many times on stage disguised. I am. So that's the way that my Phantom keeps tabs on the Opera House. So throughout the night, if you guys happen to see a strange man or what is that guy doing, like maybe it's the Phantom. So I have I'm disguised as a stagehand. So I have a hat, but my hat was missing for some reason. And so I made my first cross without the hat. And the whole cast, the audience would never have known. You would have thought I was on fire. Because I didn't have this hat. And I was literally like, what is your problem? Like, it's not that big a deal. But it doesn't take anything for us to be like, that's different. Where's your hat? And then the show's, kind of inspired by that.
That's so funny. We don't know each other, but my worst experience involved some unplanned nudity. So it was bad. The whole cast was cracking up. I was mortified. Anyway, speaking of, I want to get to questions, but I do want to say that, so this show tours with 20 trucks, and that includes 200 speakers, 85 moving lights, and 10 tons of scenery, and 1 chandelier. And I'm hoping that when the tour is over, I can have the chandelier, because I have a perfect place in my house for it. I really, really do. It would be great. So can you guys
house.
work on that for me?
Sure.
Can you work on that for me?
Yeah.
I would like to invite you all to ask us questions. It's a great opportunity, especially for you younger ones, to ask questions of these wonderful stars. I think there is a mic placement for this. It's coming now. So yes, please help yourself up to the mic and.
I like it.
go.
First.
Brave.
All right.
I'm short. Okay. So I'm representing the high school techies because I'm not an actor.
All right.
So I'm holding back like 1.5 million tech questions about this show, so appreciate that. But anyways, so Phantom of the Opera is really, really amazing to me because there's just so many illusions and like just every aspect is planned to a T and there's just like, it's magical. But anyways, so I was wondering if you still found it magical and what your favorite illusion or just mysterious tech thing was at this point.
This show would be nothing without our crew and tech because it's a very tech heavy show. Are you coming tonight? Is that why you're here?
I was here Sunday.
You were already here, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you've seen that there's, it's a lot going on. The show, the way that our show, the column that is the majority of our set constantly rotates and separates and reconfigures to make these different sets. And so we never actually have that many hard stops. It always is transitioning. And I like I'm always get chills the transition going into Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again, that transitions into the mausoleum. I think it's beautiful. So we have stage animation where we have automation where the set is moving, and then we have new set pieces behind. We have drops that have gone in. We have special like LED lights that are creating the sky movement behind it. So there's a lot of tech, the projections. Like I don't even know what else goes into that. So that, for me, is my favorite.
We have a woman that sits about 2 stories up in the air with a ton of computer screens and just screens, and she runs it. She runs the automation for that big drum and we call it periactoids, the 2 turning things on the side. But other than that, it's all by hand. And so we have a ton of crew backstage doing this intricate dance. We have the crew that tours with us, and then we pick up the local crew that learns it like that and then runs it like clockwork. And it's really fun, and it's fun meeting all these folks across the city. My favorite part is when Mark, our auctioneer, takes his cane and goes, "Gentlemen," yeah. And then the chandelier is revealed with the big organ music. Oh, I love it. I love it. And I can see the conductor in the monitor because he has to cue the music, and it's always fun seeing him go like, boom, into the monitor. So it's just a fun moment.
That is a great moment.
Yeah, I was going to reiterate that. Seeing the way our chandelier is revealed, they couldn't do this in the 80s. It is really, really cool. They spent a lot of money on that. It was designed by the people that did the Olympic rings, so you can imagine it's pretty incredible.
Great, love that question. Yay for the techies. We need more.
While that person's coming to the mic, that same moment that Jackie's talking about, when the chandelier is revealed, as an actor, and this is a Broadway show, that music's so loud when the chandelier goes, and our actors backstage are using that opportunity to do final vocalises, to do final warm-ups, and for me, I get chills with that because I'm like, dude, we're on Broadway right now, like doing this huge show, and we're about to go start, or you're about to go start. Anyway, I love that moment too. It's cool.
It's awesome to do that on the subway stations in New York too, because no one can hear when it's coming by. It gets so loud, you can just sing your highest notes.
And it's great because it's a great warm-up for me because I sing that first note, and if I can hit the third above it, that's my highest note, and so I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Which you can.
Yeah, I will say, just really quick, there's a really cool parallel in that moment to what's happening backstage and what's happening on stage, because the show is transforming into this vibrant theatrical last rehearsal scene, and all these set pieces are moving around on stage as well as off stage. So it's this really special moment where you hear sort of faint sounds of people warming up for a last rehearsal, and at the same time you're in this production that's having a last rehearsal. So it's really special moment, and it's really cool.
Have you guys seen or heard the music for Phantom of the Opera 2, Love Never Dies? And when it comes in 2017, do you think you'll try for those parts?
That'd be cool.
Yes, I have seen the show, Andrew's sequel to this production. I'd love. Give me a job. I have no sort of qualms with anything. But I will say this show and that show are not necessarily connected. That wasn't our intention to make a prequel to that production. While that show has a life of its own, it's not necessarily associated with us. But I have to say that I really do enjoy that production, and it's cool that the story lives on.
Girl, I made me cry twice at the end. I was like, this is not going to get me. I know what's coming, but it's not going to get me.
It takes place, 21 years in the future and in Manhattan, is that right?
Yeah. No. It might be 11 years in the future, or 10 or 11 years.
What was it?
It's 10 years.
10 years in the future,
years.
but in Manhattan,
Coney
right?
That's a crazy
on
story.
Coney
Yes.
Island.
Great.
Yeah.
On Coney
yeah.
Island,
Yeah,
right? Yes.
I mean, sure. Why not? It's an amazing show.
I think I could play Christine in that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What you got out there?
All right, so Chris, this is for you. My mom always raised me to ask questions because the worst anyone can say is no. So I'm gonna take this chance. I'm gonna take this chance to ask it anyways. I understand it's not my prop, but would there be any chance I could possibly try on the mask?
Well, it's not even in this room. Are you coming tonight?
Yes, I am.
Sure.
Really?
I've never.
All over the internet. Can't
Mom,
take
it worked. He should have asked for money too. Yeah, why not? I think I totally appreciate your attitude. I was the same way, and the mask, the proprietary, scarring that I wear, we can't do anything with that. But my mask, you will be the only person in a year and a half that has taken a picture with it. So sure, why not?
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
So come to the stage door, which is this is
Hall of Nations.
the Hall of Nations, and we'll be there after the show. So we'd be happy to say hi to everyone. But for the sake of me not getting a cold or something passed through, I'm going to do one with you. But so come to the stage door after tonight, and we'll do that.
I totally thought you were going to ask for gossip on Christina Aguilera. I think we have a question
Sure.
from Facebook.
Okay, hi. So Melissa from Facebook asks, what is the hardest thing about recreating such iconic characters and making them your own?
That we got to do that.
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. Like, did I mold my character after the list of amazing phantoms? And the answer is no. I think I think the reason why it's no is because as a trained musician who reads music, I learned the score. So therefore, the sort of music itself was first for me. So when I went into rehearsals as a singer who had to learn the notes on the page, off the page, by plunking them out on the piano myself, I kind of had somewhat of a blank slate. And then through direction and getting to know the character, I've created whatever my character is. I, however, am a huge fan of sort of our generation's Phantom, which is Ramin Karimloo, who's amazing. And of course, you have to love, what Cole Wilkinson did. You have to love what Michael Crawford did. So I think where I like to say my stamp is in the end, with sort of how I portray him in the end. But so no, not really, but not for any reason other than it just didn't happen that way.
I was going to say, for Raoul in this production, he's a lot different than the Brilliant original, and I felt like that actually really relieved me of a lot of pressure to give a performance that was akin to the people that have done it before. He's a bit more of a human, I would say. But yeah, I created my own thing through my own interpretations with the direction of a lot of people that have helped us through the process, and it's sort of a collective result.
When we first started rehearsals, we rehearsed in New York for about 5 weeks at the new 42nd Studios, and we started by just reading it like a play, and we built it from there. So it was really great to let the Brilliant original stand where it is and to honor that and honor those people that won Tony Awards for their portrayals and such, and to just really say, no, this is something entirely different, and trusting our fantastic director, Lawrence Connor, to really guide us to what he wants and to trust us. And a really cool story about playing in 42nd Street Studios. There were a bunch of rehearsals going on at the same time, and they were rehearsing Waiting for Godot, and so Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen I rode the elevator with Sir Ian McKellen, and then I cut him in line so I could buy his lunch, and he just bought a pudding, but I bought his lunch anyway.
He would eat pudding, wouldn't he? Pudding is awesome. I love pudding.
I do have to say, along that, on the same question, that the hardest part, just being honest, the hardest part for me is playing the Phantom is I'm stepping into the most iconic role ever, and so people are very attached to their favorite Phantom, and so there's somewhat of a giant hurdle in front of me every night, which which now I appreciate and face head on. But in the beginning, it was very intimidating, and it was very difficult for me because my Phantom isn't Michael Crawford's Phantom. It isn't Colm's. It isn't Ramin's. And so I still run into people that get mad that I'm like, Michael Crawford's like 80 years old. Okay, he's not doing the role tonight. But go listen to the CD if you want Michael Crawford. But that is sort of whatever. When you do a show like this, you have to deal with that element.
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. Oh, we have 5. I want to get through all these questions. Okay.
Sorry, I'm short. Okay, after doing this show so many times, what is the one moment that you feel when you're performing it that you feel unity with your character and yourself?
From the mouths of babes.
I will say when I'm kissing Christine.
Oh, yeah.
I will say when I'm kissing Christine.
When I'm kissing the head.
That's funny. Mine's very easy for me. It's at the very end when I'm by myself on stage, when the whole thing has come unraveled and I'm totally alone, and I have a moment with the monkey, with my music box, and that's like it's so sad to me, and no matter how many times I do it, I always feel like very present and very connected at that time.
I love my entrance because it's just me in the audience, and it's a way to like totally connect. And it's kind of me because I'm just having fun, because we all know she's playing a character and I'm playing a character, and so it's just a great way to be like, come on, come into this world with me. I love doing prima donna because it's with us. I mean, you're not there, but I get to perform with my favorite people, and we get to sing and just have a ball and have a blast.
Kissing Christine.
You were gonna do that. That's funny.
I love it. Great. Good
question.
About how long does it take to put all of your like disfigurement makeup on before the show?
I'm called at 1 hour before the show, which means I show up about 10 minutes after that.
LA.
With coffee. And so it takes about 40 minutes to put it on, and it's a bald cap first, then it's a bald cap all the way around, it's a prosthetic that covers this entire section, and then makeup to blend those two, and then a really nasty wig that goes on top of that, and that is what Phantom is wearing the whole time, and then on top, then I wear, he has wigs and masks to sort of cover up that state. So it's a lot of layers, but it takes about 40 minutes. It takes about 5 minutes to get it off. And they throw it away every day. So they use the same one. They don't reuse them.
Oh, the prosthetics are thrown away every day?
Prosthetics are thrown away every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And the mask, I assume, was molded to
The
your
mask
face.
is mine.
Okay.
And his. So.
And his.
So each of your characters is so dynamic and so passionate. How are you able to capture all of those different layers embedded within each of them?
Well, it's not necessarily the goal to be dynamic and those things. It's really about honesty and the truth of the character and what's the circumstance. You certainly, the more you do it, the more you understand the role. There's a lot of prep work. She mentioned about 6 weeks of rehearsal in tech. We had a 4-week process when we went to the show. So there's a lot of information that we get, and we try to apply it more and more every night. And eventually, with the physicality, you sort of become the character. I know when I stand at attention as Raoul would, suddenly all those things, how he'd react to certain situations come to me. I know Chris can probably understand when he puts the mask on. He sort of becomes a muscle memory type thing for him. And but yeah, it's about the honesty and just playing the situation.
Yeah, for me, it's all, I mean, we did do 4 weeks of rehearsal, but I didn't, if we think about that first show versus what we're doing now, it's like different people. And that's from doing it so many times and having different combinations of actors working together. Like I was out last week, so they had different groups, and that changes things because this person does it different than that person. But doing all the backstory, knowing your circumstances and understanding like what this person is and means and the actions and everything, and that we did that in the beginning, which seems insane because now we can go out and be and do the performance as that person, but that's only because we become those people. And it's amazing that that's happened because that was very hard. And now thinking, I'm done with the show in October, like thinking about the next show and being like, God, I have to start this over again because it's so much work. But when you have done all those things and practiced and done it a million times, then it can be dynamic for me because it's not as simple for me anyway to be like, it takes a lot of it's a lot of things going on at once.
Yeah, like my character, I'm kind of shot out of a gate. I have to start out angry. I have to like throw a diva fit like starting right away. And so sometimes that's hard, and it's hard to be like, I don't want to be mad. Can I just be happy? If you remain present, like just what these boys are saying, doing all of the homework beforehand, knowing everything about your character through and through, the time setting, your past. When you show up on the stage, if you just breathe and are present, and you are honestly present and aware of what's happening, and then react to that, most of acting is reacting, then that gives the dynamics, that adds the layers, because you are just being wholly yourself, or that character. Yeah,
All right. I know we talked about the characters earlier, how well you play them on stage and how well you captioned them. But would you say there was a process on how you envisioned them in the first place and stepped into the shoes of the characters?
My first audition, the Seth, our producer, called me a Rosie Perez Carlotta, because I think I was bringing too much of my Oxnard, Latina, South American flair to it. So it's changed from that. Yeah.
So you're asking how we envisioned it going in,
yeah,
compared to what it is now, or what? I don't even remember. I think I was so scared. I don't know. I think when I auditioned, they literally stopped my audition and they said, "You're a phantom." So whatever I was doing was reading as that. And so I guess you have to let yourself sort of be part of your character, because ultimately that reads. So I think when I envisioned it, I probably was just hoping I could do it again, like I did it in the audition room. I don't know. That's a really tough question. I don't know. I didn't really have a lot of preconceived notions. I was just a sponge. I was like, feed me. Let's do this. That's really how I approached it.
And if you listen to the music, especially when dealing with musicals and dealing with opera, when you just go straight to the music and just listen to the music, that tells you everything you need to know about the character and what's going on. And sometimes if you just let that happen, it works.
Sadly, we're sort of at the end of our night, but I wanted to ask them quickly, just give us your dream role. Let's start with Storm.
George and Sunday in the Park with George.
Tosca in Puccini's Tosca, and to do Anna from The King and I again.
You guys, I think I'm doing it. So what do I do now?
Retirement.
Yeah, it's a big first job to get, so I'm gonna retire.
Well, you guys are amazing, and congratulations. And if you haven't seen the show, please do. Those of you that have seen the show, shame those that haven't seen the show. Tell them they're no one if they haven't seen The Phantom. It's something you have to do in your lifetime. It's just a must. And so I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank our Facebook friends for joining us. Please remember that these actors do need to do a show, so let's not bombard them with autographs and other questions. And let's give a big hand for Storm and Jackie and Chris.
We will be at the stage door after the show if you guys want to say hi.
Thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.